So when you say that Roshan is not the guy, can you really say that? And even though he didn't get played enough, or maybe the Bears saw what you see and said he's not the guy.
I didn't see him break enough tackles, T-Nick.
Okay.
I mean, a guy his size, he's a short yardage back. He's got to make things happen between the tackles, and he didn't. He's not a guy that's going to get to the outside. And I felt too many times I watched Roshan got hit and went down. I watched Barkley. I watched some of these other backs that, man, they go into that defensive line with authority and they're breaking tackles. And they may not break it for 15, 20 yards, but they're getting 3, 4, 5 yards. Too many times I saw Roshan Johnson get the football and end up with negative yardage.
Yeah, I mean, Lou, I understand that. And one thing that I tell people, in the league, there's probably about maybe 4 or 5 backs that are special. Guys that they don't need 3 Pro Bowlers, 2 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. Saquon is one of them. Derrick Henry's another. Christian McCaffrey. Those type of guys, they don't need a great offensive line or a good offensive line to still do their thing. Mm-hmm. They're just special.
But Saquon had it in Philly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But when he was in New York, he didn't have it. He had a poo-poo offensive line. So the thing is like a guy like Swift. Swift, he's a good back. But in order for Swift to be productive, he has to have a good line.
100%, because he needs space.
Exactly. Even somebody talking about Najee Harris. Najee Harris, good back. But he has to have somewhat of a decent line. That's a running back to me that's sort of underwhelmed too. The hype that he came into out of college, he's going to underwhelm. He's not as good as I thought that he would be. I thought he might be up there with a Saquon and them coming out of college.
You know who I thought would have gotten more carries than he did was Bijan Robinson this season. But all of a sudden,
he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Bijan was phenomenal. Josh Jacobs was good. What's the kid?
Oh my God, Jacobs was great in Green Bay. If it wasn't for Jacobs, the Packers wouldn't have gotten to the playoffs.
No, I agree with that. Absolutely. I agree 100% with that.
I mean,
Jonathan Taylor is still good.
Yeah, I agree with that when it comes down to me, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Without Saquon, I don't think that they make the playoffs.
That's true, yeah.
He 100%. Can't even pass for 150. You know how much money I'm going to lost on Jalen Hurts just to pass for 150 yards?
Right.
I can't say that, guys, because 2 years ago.
I don't know about that.
No, I actually somewhat agree
Super Bowl 2 years ago with Jalen Hurts throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah, so, they had a good run.
He hasn't, since he's gotten paid, he has not been that Jalen Hurts. Come on, the man got Devontae Smith. He's got A.J. Brown. He's got a offensive line. He's got Saquon in the backfield, and he's got a good tight end. And this dude is struggling to throw 150 yards.
I said since he got hit, I think his bell still is a little wrong.
Early on this year,
he's been hit almost every game, man.
Oh man!
Every time he get up, I'll be like, "Ooh."
Jalen does take some hits, man. He takes some serious hits.
He for sure does.
Lou, can I ask you this though? Because again, I'm not trying to be the worrywart, but I am.
You are.
Is anybody concerned about Ben Johnson being able to develop Caleb Williams? Because in hindsight, what people always say, "Oh, look what he did for Jared Goff," but Jared Goff was throwing for 4,600 yards and 32 touchdowns with Sean McVay.
Yeah, but you just said it
and going to the Super Bowl. So it's like, isn't it a little easier to mold that guy that's already got the foundation and is pretty good? Because he's not a scrub. Goff is not a scrub.
Here's the beauty. They treated him like a scrub in L.A. He was a throw-in in the Stafford deal. I mean, let's be honest here. No one ever thought that Jared Goff would turn into the quarterback he did the last 3 years in Detroit. Now, his first season in Detroit, and for everyone out there, let's temper our expectations as we get into next season. It's his first year as head coach. All right. If you look back at what happened with Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and that new staff in Detroit, they won four. I believe the number is they went 4-20. They won 4 of their first 24 games, 1-6, and the world was coming to an end. And the owner of the team came out and said, I'm not firing Brad Holmes. I'm not firing Dan Campbell. I'm not firing Ben Johnson. I'm sticking with these guys. And right after that, it turned around. So it could take time. I do think that Johnson will develop Caleb because Caleb wants to be great. That's the difference. I don't get the feeling that Caleb is the type of kid that has come into the NFL and is playing for a contract 4 years from now. I get the feeling like he wants to be great. So when it's time to get the new contract, like Jordan Love, like Jalen Hurts, he'll get that deal. So I believe that when a player wants to learn and is open to listening to he openly politicked for the Bears to get Ben Johnson. You guys, I'm sure you guys have seen it where he got fooled by the prank call.
Yeah,
he was excited about it. He thought, oh my God, we got Ben Johnson. He was jumping on the phone, talking about how excited he was, and he got burned. I don't know if you guys saw him on the St. Brown podcast with him on. And,
yeah, we did. I did. Yep.
And he's like, hey, man, they got me. I changed my number, but they got me. That showed to me how excited this 23-year-old kid was to get an offensive line like Ben Johnson working with him.
I'm surprised that he's been pretty silent so far since that Ben Johnson pretty much
He's
fired.
Probably worried to say anything.
I know. That's what I feel like, too. Like, I could picture him making a TikTok dancing like crazy right now because we got Ben Johnson, but he's like holding it back. He's like, I'm going to wait until that is signed and the announcements come in. But he's got to be excited. And
Caleb didn't really talk that much during the season anyway, except for the regular press conference. Like, if you notice, his Twitter handle was his dad was talking more than he was.
Yeah, his dad, yeah.
I know Lou. Great.
I thought Caleb handled his rookie season as well as any rookie in the league, considering what he went through. Loses his offensive coordinator, loses his head coach, plays behind an offensive line that allows him to get sacked 69 times, 3 different games, brings his team back. Listen, and I'm not here to talk about whether they made the right move with Justin Fields or didn't. But I can tell you this, Justin Fields in the fourth quarter was awful.
He struggled.
He was the worst quarterback in the NFL. Instead, you got Caleb Williams, 10 of his 20 touchdown passes, fourth quarter. Highest quarterback rating that he had, fourth quarter. Brought the Bears back, gave them a chance to win in the Washington game, in the Detroit game, in the Minnesota game. Should have won the Green Bay game. So the kid has it, okay? He knows that he needs certain things that he has to have worked on, and he's willing to listen.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Lou, because I know this is more of like asking about a coach situation, because you were saying what benefits Caleb, and I look what we went through last year with how many times he was sacked. But when you're sacked so much and you literally only have, say, like 3 seconds before not even 3 seconds before somebody's in your face, why doesn't your offensive coordinator call more slants or more quick hits and stuff like that? I just don't get why they always put him back there in 5-step drops all the time when you know that there's going to be pressure coming.
Well, because if a defense knows that the only way you're going to complete a pass, because you can't run the football behind that line.
Yeah.
So the only way you're going to complete a pass is with the slants. Well, then they defend against it. But you're right. I mean, every fan I've talked to, you watch – who was I watching? Washington on Saturday. Most of their passes, other than a couple of bombs to Terry McLaurin, most of them are slants. They're short passes. They play the short passing game as well as anyone. I wish I would have seen it more. Has anyone seen number 85 lately?
Cole Kmet is on a milk carton.
I didn't see him the second half of the season.
I mean, were they throwing it to him, though? Like, I mean, I always saw him in there blocking pretty much. Like, and I didn't get that, too. Like, even in the first half of the season, When Waldron was in Seattle, he liked throwing it to tight ends. He liked having 2 tight end sets, but we didn't see that here.
Frank, they're paying the guy $50 million. Throw him the damn football.
Exactly. I agree. I didn't understand why he was just never involved in the offense. Like,
I did have a worry when they picked up Keenan Allen. I remember saying to Jeff Joniak, how is he going to feed all these mouths?
I said the same thing.
I mean, how do you feed Keenan Allen, who's used to getting 130 targets a season, DJ Moore, who's used to getting 130 targets a season, DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett? What a waste of $9 million.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Guy had 50 catches with the Chargers. He barely saw the field in Chicago.
Very.
Can I answer that question? I'm on record, Lou. I think they messed up because you had all that firepower. There was no need to draft Roma Dunze. You should have got Jared Verse. That was me. That's who I wanted. Wow. And then we would have had that person outside of Montez Sweat to help. But I digress.
Well, here. Now that you saw the season that Verse had, that's an easy one. Yeah, I wish they had Jared. Helping out.
Frank and I wanted him out of Florida State, though. Yeah, we knew we wanted Verse first.
We would all love to have Verse.
Here's what I'll say about Odunze. Ryan Poles knew that at $23 million for Keenan Allen at the age of 33, it was a 1-year deal.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. And Keenan thought he'd finish this year with over 100 grabs, like he always has. 70 catches for Keenan Allen. So worst season he's had. Okay. So they drafted Odunze to protect their ass for this season. So that way they're not going into the draft saying, oh, man, we need a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They have their 2 main targets at wide receiver. I think they should play Tyler Scott more. If the kid can't play, then don't keep him.
He's on Velvet Jones.
He's got to get on the field. He gives you speed. He can at least stretch the field.
But I like Colin Johnson, Lou. Don't you like Colin Johnson? Like, I think he should get on the field more. 6'7", 6'6".
He's a big target. He's a big target.
He'd be a great big target, but if you're going to throw to a big target, throw to Odunze more.
Great. That's true.
And it's funny. True. It's funny how you said that, Luke, because you said it perfectly. Because I said the same thing when they got Keenan Allen, and everyone's just like, "Oh my God, Caleb's going to shine so much because he has all these weapons." I was just like, "Does anyone believe there is such things as too many weapons? Like you have too much, you're not going to be."
Man, you're on the same boat with me. You're saying the same thing with me. Oh man, he got so many weapons.
Like I never understood it. Especially if you were getting Rome, why even get? I mean, unless Keenan was a mentor towards Rome, which I kind of understood, but it was just too much.
But Detroit has a similar thing. They've got all these weapons, but they don't seem to. It's like everybody gets a taste, but it's like a big taste, right? There's games when I promise you, Lou, I'm like on my fingers, like Cole Kmet hasn't even been in a passing route for 5 straight plays, let alone getting the ball. He hasn't even went out to catch a ball.
Right.
And I'm just like, why? Cole Kmet, 1 target, 1 catch.
Here's the irony of what we're talking about. I would not be surprised if Keenan Allen said to the Bears, now that Ben Johnson is the the head coach who's going to be calling the plays, that Keenan Allen came back to the Bears or said to Ryan Poles, I'll come back for half the money for a season because I know that the offense is going to be 100% better than what we played in last year. Yeah. And I can get my numbers back up, and then I can go back on the open market.
1 more payday.
And get a bigger payday.
Yeah.
Because I really don't. What's he gonna go out there and sell? 70 catches for 800 yards? I don't remember what his total yardage was. It wasn't 1,000 yards. So
nope. And 2 games missed, and a lot of drops.
And
about 700 drops.
26 drops he finished with this year. And I think he had like 19 his whole career, and he had 26 just this year.
And he's going to be 34 in April.
Right. That's the only way I'm taking him back. If he takes half the money, otherwise,
I actually don't want him back.
Let's go sit at home with your family, man. Go sit at home.
Let's feature somebody else, because sometimes Caleb is like Keenan. DJ Moore is like, dude, I'm open. Rome is like, I'm open. Komet is like, block. Hey, throw the ball. But he's just so focused on Keenan. I'm like, how do you missed 2 games? How do you almost have the same amount of targets as DJ? Like, that's crazy.
Hey, look, I got a question for you. How do you think this relationship between Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson is going to work? Because I know there's been a lot of rumors and speculations stating that, Ben Johnson wanted to bring in his own GM. Ryan Poles is on the hot seat. He may have 1 year. The Bears are constantly doing what they always do, have somebody that's on their way out and then hiring somebody that's coming in brand new for a fresh 3 to 4 to 5 years. So how do you think that dynamic is going to work between him and Ben Johnson? Do you see him getting an extension?
Foulmouth, I can tell you what I was told, that Ben Johnson has great respect for Ryan Poles.
Nice.
One of the reasons why he took the Bears job was because of Ryan Poles. And I think that Ryan Poles this past season was humbled. You saw the press conference that he had with Kevin Warren, where he sat next to him and didn't say much. Right. I think Ryan Poles was humbled. And when they spoke, I believe that Ryan Poles told Ben Johnson, we will sit down and decide what free agents we pursue. We will decide what our priorities are in the NFL draft with the 10th pick and the 2 second-rounders. And we will build this roster together. And when you're dealing with a guy like that, who with a team, okay, that already has a pretty damn good foundation. All right, we can say what we want about the Bears and their 5-12 season. It's a pretty good defense. It is a potential franchise quarterback with 2 really good weapons at wide receiver, a really good tight end, and a solid running back given space. So we know where their warts are. In Chicago, the greatest sports town in the world, with a franchise, a founding franchise, that is going to be moving into a new home, we don't know where, but a new dome stadium. It is a really exciting opportunity for a young 38-year-old head coach like Ben Johnson to have here in Chicago. And he is smart enough to realize that if they play well, God forbid they win a Super Bowl, he sees the way the 85 Bears are still heralded 40 years later. He sees what happened with Mike Ditka's life because he brought this town a Super Bowl. He saw, he's a sports guy. He saw what happened to the 2016 Cubs, the 2005 White Sox, those Blackhawks teams over that 10-year decade run with 3 Stanley Cups. And obviously I lived that Bulls run for 6 championships through the 90s. Man, you win in this town, you don't pay for the meal. You don't pay for a meal the rest of your life.
Yeah. And there's some good food here.
Yeah. So, Mr. Lou, how are we doing on time? I know it's family night.
Yeah.
We don't want to keep you too long.
So I'm gonna move off on you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm glad I got to spend some time. I'm sorry I'm a little late, but I didn't have Chrome or Firefox, so I had to steal my wife's computer because she did, so I can get into the mix with you guys. And I love the guys at Hugh Chicago, by the way. Those are my guys. So I'm glad to see that they're a sponsor. And I love talking to you guys. Just let me get back on.
Awesome. You are welcomed anytime.
Terrence, when we decided to do this, I had no idea that they'd be setting up a press conference for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Perfect time.
Coach.
Perfect. But yeah, so whenever you want to come on, man, we would love to have you, Mr. Lou.
By the way, one of your guys just posted Hank Fraley. He's the assistant coach, the offensive line coach in Detroit. Mm-hmm. I am told by my contacts in Detroit that if Hank Fraley takes the offensive coordinator position, which is rumored to happen, that this is a huge get. And don't forget, every time the Bears take someone from the Lions, okay, you're hurting Detroit in your division.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't the rumors also that we're getting their offensive lines coach too?
Yeah,
that is Hank Fraley.
That's Hank Fraley.
Oh, that's Hank. My fault. Yeah. I didn't remember his name.
Yeah.
My bad.
So
yeah,
that's a great get. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you,
Parents,
Mr. Luke.
please bring me back. Foulmouth, how old's your daughter? Is that your daughter or son there?
Nah, this is my son here.
He finally got a son, Lou. He finally got his son.
Finally got him.
Bye, Tia.
How old is your son, Foulmouth?
He's 3 months.
What's his name?
Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky.
I love it.
And I will be visiting your restaurant very soon.
Thanks.
Yes,
Darren.
can you plug that real quick?
Yeah, plug it.
Lou, let us know where it's at.
Plug it, Lou. Please plug it.
So about 7 years ago, I started a Greek restaurant group called Avli, AVLI. And the first one we opened was in Lincoln Park on Wrightwood and Wayne. Small little 52-seat restaurant, contemporary Greek. So if anyone's been to Greek Islands, what we did was we took the Greek Islands model and just made it a little bit more contemporary. So female, and Gia loves her Avli restaurant, but we made it so it was really female friendly. Then we opened up in River North. Then we opened up the big one in Lakeshore East by Maggie Daly Park. And then we opened up, guys, in Milwaukee. So we've been open in Milwaukee for about 20 months now, 16 months with Giannis. Giannis Antetokounmpo is my partner in Milwaukee.
Wow.
With his agents.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Am I reading in Oakbrook as well, Lou?
Not in Oakbrook.
Oh, I see one named that in Oakbrook. That's why I was asking that.
No, just Avli, AVLI. Winnetka, Lincoln Park, River North, Lakeshore East, and Milwaukee.
That's awesome. That could be my Valentine's Day restaurant. I take
well, you let me know. I had someone reach out to me today. T, let me know so I can save you a table.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks, Mr. Lou. I appreciate
All right, guys.
it. All right. You take care.
All right, Lou.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Lou.
All
Thanks again, man.
I appreciate you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate
Love
you.
having you on.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, boys.